Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Shirley.
Welcome.
Hi, Vanessa.
How are you?
Great, thank you.
We're going to have fun today.
Well, we're here again, which I'm so thrilled, and we have a new guest. So we are sisters. Come on, girls, sharing our heart with you. Oh, here's our heart.
Up. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm really thrilled about our guest today, and I'm really thrilled that we talked a little bit about the lighthouse last week and how the lighthouse illuminates and it brings protection and it guides, and it was related to the salvation of the Lord
Yes.
over the Easter time. And it was really a wonderful little story that we had. But what I loved about it is that it kind of like jumps into what we're going to do today. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Vanessa Lien, and she is a multitude of many women, but she's only one. She'll explain all that a little bit later, but she's like the lighthouse. She lights up things and brings clarity to stuff, and she's a pretty amazing woman, and I can't say enough because I've known her since she was a teenager.
Wow.
Not a little girl, but a
Yeah.
teenager. And she was in the church that I was going to back in the 1990s. And
Back in the day, right?
yeah, back in the day. Totally. Let's not give away the age here. But anyway, she was my daughter's very close best friend, and my oldest son and her brother, they all just kind of hung out together. So we have a history that goes way back.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful to watch her grow up. I was involved with the youth group at the time, and she was part of that. And then as she got married, I was her wedding coordinator.
Woo!
And as her children came along, I was able to be part of their lives. And it's just been an amazing journey, Vanessa. It's really been fun.
Yeah.
So before we start, I know I introduced her first and we welcomed you, but I would just like to start off with a prayer,
Yes.
if that's okay.
Yes. Oh,
All
yes.
right. Father God, we just come before you, and we thank you we have this time together. I ask, Lord, that you would just open the ears to hear the message you have today through Vanessa, God, that she would share a word of encouragement and of hope today in what is going on in the world right now and with homeschooling and how important it is, Lord. So we just ask, Lord, that you would bless our time and you would open doors that no man could close for her and her husband, Tommy. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
Well, now that I've introduced her, I want to start off with a few questions.
Sure.
And I'm sure she's ready to answer because
We'll
she's ready right on the spot. In season and out, right, Vanessa?
You're supposed to be,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what they do. Yes.
Okay, so what I would like to ask you in question one would be, can you tell me a little bit about your life and the timeline and where you're at right now? But
All right, you have all day?
yeah, I do.
Well, we do have an hour.
I'm getting old.
As long as
That's a
it's-
long timeline.
As long as the
I'm just kidding.
lights are on, we're
Yes,
good.
I grew up in a beautiful Christian home family, and I attribute a lot of who I am to my grandparents. So they were they were missionaries in Mexico,
Wow.
and my grandmother raised me. My mother and father worked full time, so she had a lot of my brothers and sisters and watched us, and she just was such a beautiful woman. She loved Jesus.
Oh, what a heritage
Yes,
for you.
last year she went. I'm kind of jealous. She's with the Lord.
Aw.
I'm like, what? But
Aw.
she's still with us in our hearts. But she was such a beautiful woman. I attribute so much to her.
What was her name?
Mama Amy.
Aw.
That's what we call her.
Mama
That's what
Amy.
we call her,
I love
Mama
that.
Amy. Yeah, and everyone called her Mama Amy because she was the mother to so many people. Yeah, beautiful. woman. And so I have there was 5 of us growing up. So I also have one brother that's in heaven. He's with Mama Amy, so yes. But you know, it's the beautiful part about it, growing up in a Christian home, is knowing that security of knowing that one day we're all going to be together, right? I mean, that's the joy.
It's wonderful.
Yes, and truly, like having that hope is, you know, there's nothing that compares to that. So, yeah. So I grew up in a Christian home. Let me see. I went to Bible school after I graduated high school, and it was part of this amazing revival in Pensacola, Florida. That was, yes, I don't
Brownsville?
Yes, I don't know if you've heard of it or not,
yes,
but it was like, I consider myself so privileged to be able to do that. And I was there actually with my brother Nathan, the one that passed, and we spent 2 years together, had like this amazing time, just like going after God like hardcore together.
That's wonderful.
And that right there was really life changing for me. That's when I feel like I had a true encounter with God for myself. And it wasn't something that, you know, you learn when you're, you know, from your parents or from other people. Like, it was truly like when I like shut the door to my room and I couldn't wait to be alone with God. Like, and that was like, yeah, it was like I was like in this romance, like tied in this like love affair. Like, seriously, it sounds weird, but that's what it felt like. So after school, I would just come home and like close the door and put on worship music and just spend hours and hours with the Lord. And I feel like that's where God just really like started like showing me more of Himself and showing me who I am in Him. Yeah, and so from there, after my brother died, I wish it was that love story that continued, but you know, I hit some rocky road for sure.
That happens.
And yeah, but it's so cool. I want to take it back in a sense because I really feel like the Lord, you know, He uses everything to make a masterpiece. Even though when I look at it, I'm like, that's like a big mess. Like, what is this? You know, but God's like, no, like, you know, I'm going to use that for my glory. And He has, as much as, you know, it was ugly, you know. But yeah, I kind of went through some highs and some lows after I came back from Pensacola, Florida. My brother passed away, and yeah, so I was just like kind of searching.
It's a difficult time, I'm sure.
Yeah, not really sure what I was supposed to do or whatever. But God showed me, and I really felt like the Lord spoke to me on a trip that we had taken with our family to go to Youth with a Mission in Los Angeles, which is also called YWAM. For those of you that don't know, YWAM. So that's where I met my husband. He was my leader, actually.
Well, tell me more.
He was my leader to our outreach. It was like a 3-month school, I believe, and then like 2 months outreach in a different country. But I didn't, like, you don't get to know who your leader is or like what the options are for where you get together. There's like 4 or 5 different options of, you know, outreach locations. And yeah, it just so happened that my husband Tommy was my outreach leader, and I just fell in love with him on our trip, just watching him with the orphanage that we worked with, and watching him like when he prayed. That's when I was like, I knew like he was the one for me. I was like, I've never heard anyone have like such a direct link and contact with God before like that. And it's true. Like when you guys meet him and like you talk to him, it's just like a very authentic relationship that he has with the Lord that is so beautiful. So yeah, so from there, shortly after we got married, actually like within a year of like meeting and you know coming back from our outreach, we got married, and then he went to Bible school in Canada, and we moved to Canada, Ontario, Canada together. And he finished his 2-year schooling in a year and a half, and then we, through that organization, the church that we were attending, we went as full-time missionaries to Nepal and India.
Wow.
So I had like such a love for Nepal when we went there on our outreach that I was like, this is awesome. And India was a difficult trip for sure, but we led the team, and we were able to go with two other ladies, which was really cool. And yeah, so we were there for over a year, and then came back to Canada, and were youth pastors for a while, youth pastors in LA for a while, and yeah, now we are. So much has happened. We have 5 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, we have 5 kids. And we're living back in San Diego, which I'm so grateful for. All my family's here. And and God has called us to plant a church here in San Diego, which has been, that could probably be another topic later.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's it.
Awesome. Well, I hear that you co-pastor with your husband.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. That has actually been a journey as well. It's just, it's very new as far as, we've been doing it for over a year and a half now, right? And we started in our home, and so we had we just really feel like the one-on-one connection with people is so important. Because sometimes you can go to a church and you get lost kind of in the crowd. It happens, right? Like even in the smallest crowd, some people you just don't. You're just trying to find that connect, right? And so I feel like the Lord just showed me, how can you invite someone to church if you haven't even invited them to your table?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, I'm just such a people person, and I love gathering. I love like being hospitable. I love relationship and that.
Like, might be.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so one-on-one time with people, and like for me, it's all about being authentic and being, being able to like share your struggles and your joys with people, right? But I feel like a lot of times when you're in a church setting, you feel dumb to say those things. You're like, I'm so bad, or you feel like so guilty, or when really we're all sinners, and we've all fallen short.
Exactly.
Like, oh here, girl, like, oh yeah,
all
lots of times,
challenges.
Yeah, and so like it's when people realize that they're not alone, and other people have done that, it brings a certain level of comfort for
it's encouraging though. I think
that they can actually have a relationship with Jesus too, and it's not, he wants to.
Right.
He wants those people that are messed up because he likes
we're
me.
The best.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, that's why he chose me, But it's true because then it's in those moments we realize that it's not us that does it, it's him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, so it's so beautiful. But yeah, so we started in our home, and then from there we were doing, we had a lot of kids actually coming to our house, and it was just, we have a pool in our backyard that is it's under construction, so we're like, it's probably not the safest thing to have it here. So the Lord moved us to actually doing tent meetings in the back of our friend's building that she had in her parking lot, and it was really awesome. And then just recently, the Lord moved us to a Seventh-day Adventist church that we were renting out two different rooms for. And then COVID happened. So literally, I think we met twice, and we were super excited. We had this momentum happening, and then, kind of halted. But devil, you're not gonna stop us.
No,
I'm telling you,
she is not gonna hide her little light under the bushel, right?
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, following that, you had kind of spoke to me at one time about God had showed you this, Create Christian Church. So, tell me a little bit more in depth about how that came about from God.
Yeah, for sure. That was really interesting, actually, because we were in a transition moment when we had served 2-year term in YWAM Los Angeles, and our 2-year term was kind of coming to a close, and we felt like it was time to just kind of move on from there. And we had like all these different opportunities, like really cool opportunities, like to do. Like I was like, wow, like that sounds amazing. Like a house paid for, and doing a Bible school, and all these things. We were like, wow, this is amazing, and doing something, and then with YWAM in another location, and. So we were laying on the beach. We were literally just having a family day. We were in Santa Monica Beach, and I was just chilling there, laying on the sand. I was all like,
you're talking to the girl that loves the beach.
Me too. Same. I'm like total beach girl. So yeah, I'm just, laying there. Yeah, and then the Lord, out of nowhere too. I don't even know. We were probably talking, in my heart, but I wasn't all like, hey Jesus, or anything like that. And the next thing I know, the Lord literally just said, I want you to start a church. He didn't say it like that, obviously. I had to give him some man voice. And I was like, I laid there for a second. I let the reality sink in, what just happened. But and then I had this literally a physical reaction where I sat up from a dead, from laying down flat, sat straight up, and I spit sand out of my mouth. I didn't even have sand in my mouth. I don't know where it came from, but I spit all over what? That was so stupid. It was so dumb. What? Oh my gosh. And then I started beating myself up. Vanessa, you are so dumb. Why would you think? What are you crazy girl?
Start a church at my age with 5 kids?
I was all right? I'm like, wow. Clearly that was not God, because he knows me, right? Thank you, Jesus. I'm so grateful that you know me, and you would never tell me to do that, God. Love you, Jesus. Right? So I'm
boy, it fell through.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God,
Yeah, exactly.
So I never tell my husband the situations, but I didn't completely exit out either. I literally just was like, okay, I'm gonna keep that in my heart, because that could have just been a pizza moment. I had way
call it a moment.
Yeah.
Too many tacos, right, or something. I don't know. I'm like, that was not normal. So I'm laying in bed one night, probably about I don't know, maybe 3 nights later, and I wake up at like 3 a.m.
Yes, that's
Oh,
when
you know that's God.
That's when he wakes me up too.
Oh, 3 a.m., right?
Yes,
Every time. I'm like,
3
why not like,
Yeah.
10:55 when it's still nighttime? Like, why sleeping?
Yeah.
Like, don't you know I have kids I have to take care of this morning? Like, why not? So he wakes me up, and I can feel him reminding me of what he said. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
man. I'm like, shoot, that was you, wasn't it?
Wow.
And so I'm like, all right. So I kind of get an attitude. Like, cause I'm like, all right, well, you know that this is something that I would never, ever dream of or want to do or anything like that. Missions, yes. Call me to India. Call me to give my life, like, in another country. Travel, like, it's all exciting, whatever, but not like to be stuck in a church, in a building. And the way that I perceived it was like, it was kind of dysfunctional in a way, I guess, like what a church was because of what I grew up in sometimes. Like, it's like religion. It's religion.
Right.
Religion will kill you. It's not relationship.
Yeah.
Right,
So that's how I
exactly.
thought about it. And I'm like, well, Lord. So I'm like, okay. God, I'm like laying there. I'll be sassy with you. So I was like, I'm okay, Lord. If that was you, which I know it wasn't, Lord, because you love me.
You went through that tonight.
I'm like, if that was you, then I'm like, okay, tell me what you want the name to be. And literally, it was like looking at a computer, and you know how you, like, those techies, there's like this information download.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's what he did.
Yes.
He goes, but like super fast. I'm like, hey, what do you want it to be named? And he's like, Create Christian Church. And I was like, what? Cool name, though. Like,
You talk more.
yeah. Like, but what does it mean? And literally, he said, like, so
Oh.
fast. It was like a download, like I said. And the C was for Christ, which is the head of the church, which is the prophetic. The R is for revival, which the Lord wants to revive America again, obviously.
Yes.
The E is for evangelism. The A is for apostolic ministry. The T is for teaching. And the E is for ekobalo, which means, the Greek word, I believe that, it means the equipping and the sending out of the missionaries.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, that's
So I was like, whoa! I was like, in that moment, like, just like,
humbled.
yes, humbled.
You're so
and,
humbled.
yes, just,
You knew then it was God.
yeah,
Well,
and
yeah.
I knew that. But
Yes.
yeah, it was just like, I was so shocked in that sense, but I was like, I couldn't move, because then I was like, wow, I need to tell my husband now, because this is a big deal.
Well, I would have gone, you need to tell my husband.
I know, right? Well, see, this is the thing too. My husband's always dreamt about doing church. Like, he loved, like, small groups, and he was always involved in those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was imperative in the sense that God showed me this first, because if God would have told him, I would have been like, peace out, bro, have fun. That's
Oh,
on
dear.
your journey right now. Not gonna happen. Like, just being real, I was like, no, it's not for me. And it's different too when you working with youth kids. I've even said this recently.
Yeah.
Like, working with youth kids is so much easier. And I remember, like, than working with adults, because they're like these adult people that you're expecting. They have this expectation of, like, okay, there's going to be a level of maturity there that it's not a lot of times.
Sometimes,
Right?
that's true.
Not with everyone, obviously.
I'm
But,
a teacher that worked with junior high and high school, and I loved it.
yes.
But to step out and do something on your own pure, it's
a little more
challenging.
difficult.
It
Yeah.
is. And I think, too, it's because we care. I know that I do. There's a little bit more, like, hesitation to do something because I care more about what an adult would think than maybe, like, a youth kid. I'm like, they get hormones, so get over it, kind of thing. So, yeah, that was, like, the moment that I had with the Lord that I was like, okay, so that's kind of where it all started. My husband was like, yes,
He
thank you, Jesus.
was just waiting on God to tell you.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
he already kind of knew
yeah.
that something was in the works.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
He was so excited for sure, yeah. And so from there, we presented the idea to our home church in San Marcos, California. If any of you are listening and you're close by San Marcos, please go visit Summit Church. Our pastors are phenomenal.
Oh, they're
phenomenal. Pastor Daniel and
amazing.
Teresa Jones. They have championed us so much throughout this journey and just believe in us, and we have an incredible relationship with them. So through that, after we presented our idea to them we asked if we could be under their church and their leadership. They ordained us both as pastors, which is crazy because I'm like, me too? What? No, what?
Great.
That's when I was like, hey, God, no, I don't know about that. I got it all wrong, I'm like, okay,
Wow,
Yeah.
official.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That
thank
is
you.
Beautiful. Well, you shared a little bit about your mission work, but we have lots of time, I think. So why don't you share some special mission trips and
some more about our missions.
More about your missions.
Well, yeah, I have an incredible, like I said, I attribute that to my grandparents for sure. Mm-hmm. So they would used to take me as a little girl because grandma lived on the border, like really close to the city to Mexico, which is called San Isidro. And, so that's where I grew up when they watched me and stuff. And so we would cross the border like all the time. Like it wasn't a big deal. It's not like now. You don't even need passports. I don't even think I had a car seat or anything. I was maybe in a laundry basket. No, just kidding. Across the street, on the back of his truck, hanging out.
I love it.
So I would go, and I remember being like so entranced by the simplicity of it. Like just there was like there was never any instruments or like loudspeakers or anything like that. There was just like the simplicity of people. Like I remember the old ladies that would clap and like seemed to be singing their hearts out in Spanish.
Right.
And, esto es el día, this is the day, and I'm like, and they would sing it over and over, and it was so beautiful. Yeah. And just like I remember falling asleep even girl small, and I'd fall asleep underneath the chairs like, are we done yet? But like literally every time they would pray and they would preach and stuff, like the Holy Spirit would fall. Like it was a powerful moment every time, and I would see people like crazy things that most kids don't get to experience. People slain in the spirit. I've seen people delivered from the demonic, where literally a witch was like throwing up black tar. I saw it with my own eyes as a small kid. So I'm always kind of very aware of like the supernatural. It was very real to me at a young age. So I had such a heart, I think, for those nations because it's very real there.
Yes,
right.
You're
exactly.
Right. I've heard some things.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
It's scary. Yeah, we've experienced a lot of different things, but yeah. So I would say that it started there. My love for nations and people. I just love people. And so when we were in India, there was a point where we really thought we were gonna like live there long term because there was a little girl that we had wanted to adopt. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but that's still in my heart as well. Like maybe one day, even though I have 5 kids, I still would love. I have such a mama heart. I would love.
She does.
She does. More. My husband's like, no more. But I love it.
Just one.
Yeah, just one. More.
7 is the number of completion.
That's right. Well, my husband says because there's 5 kids and then him and I.
That makes
He's
sense.
like, we're done. I'm like, oh man. Yeah.
Well, it could work that way too, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how we kind of our heart for mission. We love Nepal. We've actually gone a few times even after that. My husband Tommy and Jandy actually was part of that. Last year, around this time they had gone. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
So, what a blessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so neat.
So our heart is to one day, through our church, be able to sponsor even more pastors and missionaries in India and Nepal, and as well as start hopefully a Bible school, Bible center there. My husband's in the process of writing like a discipleship manual and then having it translated for those countries, just to so.
That would be wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
You will have to definitely watch our next episode.
Oh, cool.
That's what they do.
Yeah, oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, so excited.
I'll have to tell you some more, and you'll have to definitely watch this.
Awesome.
Yeah, very good connection.
That's
there.
awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to move on to something that is really kind of special and dear to my heart. You're going to see a bunch of jewelry. So there's all kinds of bracelets here. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but I have a bunch of necklaces and a few earrings. So the reason I bring that to your attention is Vanessa, and I'll let her explain it all, but she has this jewelry that's called Sand and Stones. So Vanessa, would you please explain what that's all about and how it's used for your ministry?
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting that the name of the church that the Lord gave to us is Create.
Yes.
Because that is a gifting that I feel like I've always kind of carried since I was little, like creating things or making things. I love it, and I really believe with my whole heart that we are all destined to create. So whatever that might be. So yeah,
I agree.
So some people think, oh, I'm not creative. I can't paint or I can't draw. I'm like, no. That's not what creative means. We were all destined to create. And even when we're talking to people, we're building a relationship, right? You're creating something that wasn't there before,
right?
So it's like in our words and our actions, we're literally penning out a story of what a relationship's gonna look like, you know, and like it's beautiful, really. So like we all, you know, have a gift like that. So yeah, when I lived in Canada, I started getting into essential oils even more. I'm actually a licensed esthetician in California, so I'm like really into like the skincare and like the natural stuff, and so the Lord just kind of, yeah, like I just have a love for it. I like the healing oils of the Bible and those kind of things, you know, and then how they're used. And so I had a couple of friends selling essential oils in Canada, and it was like a really big thing when we were living there, you know, to have like, it was like a silver chain with like a cage kind of a thing, and you put like a felt piece in there, and then you put your oil on it.
Okay.
But I was kind of like, oh, like everyone has those, and I don't think I'd wear that, you know. So I started making jewelry like this, so just different beaded items, and they have a lava rock inside each of them, and on the lava rock you actually put your essential oils on it.
Okay.
And it diffuses for like 24 hours, so naturally, and because it's so porous. So yeah, so I would wear them and see. Yeah, I would wear them, and then people were asking me, oh, you know, how did or where did you get that, you know? And I would tell them, oh, I made it. So people started asking me if I could make it for them. It's gorgeous on you. Because I like
I've collected all these from Vanessa.
Yes. So people were asking, you know, for like, oh, would you make me one or custom? So I was like, hey, I can make money off of this. This is awesome. So a friend of mine, another American that lived in Canada as well, this beautiful girl named Rebecca, her and I kind of joined together and started making jewelry. And she so we started off sand and sunshine. So it's because I was from San Diego and she was from the Sunshine State. So we kind of joined forces. So she made her own stuff. I made my own stuff. We were kind of still separate because I knew I was going to move back eventually. So then I became sand and stones. So it's like kind of separate. But so that's how we started. And then before we even moved back from Canada, the Lord opened a door for me to sell my product in 2 different stores, which was amazing.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh wait, they're making like a lot of money off my stuff. I could probably do this online. So started selling it online, just by myself, and then kind of got out of it a little bit after we had moved from Los Angeles to San Diego. And it wasn't until just recently that the Lord just kind of was like, hey, like, remember, you know, and like. And I feel like it's so awesome because in those moments while I'm creating things, and when I always ask the Lord before I make anything, like to come into that space, you know, and to help me to do stuff, right, to be creative. And he comes, and that's my time with the Lord too. Even with the 5 kids, I kind of like that's my time, you know. So I'll turn on like a worship music, or I'll podcast or something, and I'll just make jewelry, and it's been like so beautiful because. You know, we get to, through this, that what we sell, we actually get to support and help the people that we partner with in Nepal right now. So that's who we're like, So that's what my jewelry is used for. And actually, I just had an event on Saturday, and the proceeds went to a friend of mine, Christine, who was in an automobile accident, and she has a spinal cord injury. So she's unable to walk right now. So it goes towards her therapy. So it's all for like good cause, and I love it. And it helped us to go to Thailand as a family. So. To do missions work, so I feel like the Lord is just, you know, He can use your talents. Like, He doesn't waste anything. So I just want to encourage everybody out there that is watching this to just really, whatever it is that, whether you think you're good at it or not, someone out there will think it's beautiful.
Right, you just gotta step out.
Yeah, and to use what God has given you to the best that you know how, because He's going to give you more. Right. And as you step out, He's going to continue to give you more and more things and more ideas, you know, and just ask Him that. Ask Him to be present in every moment in while you're doing things. You know, whether you think you're creative or you're not, but you are. We all are, like I said. So that's kind of how my business started, and I have a web page as well, and it's up and running. I just haven't loaded any of the product yet. It's like so many things to do. But, you know, I'm getting there slowly, so I'm excited for what God has.
It reminds me. What keeps coming in my mind is reading through the Old Testament, and when they were building. You know, the temple, and you know how intricate and beautiful it was, and then God called the skilled craftsman. You know,
that's true.
Right?
That's true.
He specifically chose the skilled craftsman to come because it was so important to God. The very details of it were so important, and it had meaning. Everything had meaning. And so when you're creating something, so beautiful for the Lord. It's like it's going to be blessed because He's the one that's called you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on a little side note, she has a daughter called Emberlyn Sky, and she is a kick in the pants. So she's been teaching her daughter how to make bracelets, and she's so cute.
Very
When
good.
we were at the event, she came up next to me because I was there to help Vanessa, and she lays out 3 bracelets. She goes, "Now, which one do you like the most?" And I said, well, maybe that one. She goes, "All right, I'll sell it to you for $5."
Nancy, businesswoman already.
And so the reason I say that is your creativity as a mother can spark your children to become creative.
Sure.
And then that encouragement passes on. So it just keeps going.
It's true. Yeah, she came up to me and she said, I was beading for the event, or we were making something. She goes, "Oh, Mommy, I'm going to be a beader like you when I grow up." I was like, all right, she's 7.
7.
So she's had to buy her all her own little, plastic jewelry.
And she knows how to talk.
She's smooth, yeah.
I love it.
Sweetheart.
Falling at a young age.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Wow. Okay, so now why did you decide to homeschool your children?
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
I thought about that, but God gave me a job at a Christian school because I was going to homeschool, but then all of a sudden He just brought me a teaching job.
Oh, amazing.
At a Christian school.
Wow.
So then they got to go for free.
Yep.
My kids,
That's
my 3
awesome.
kids, right? And so God just kind of made all that happen. But I would have homeschooled, and I'm so glad you're here today because there's so many people out there that are looking for a chance to learn a little bit more about homeschooling, and this is so good that you're here to share.
Thank you so much. Well, it's really interesting how when I was lived in Canada, the kids actually went to, my oldest was like in 1st grade, I think, and he was in school. And the teacher had reached out to me. It was literally like October, so maybe not even 2 months of school had started yet. And she was telling me that she was concerned because he was really behind in reading and just reading pretty much, right? And my oldest is super, super shy. Like he was super shy at that time. And so I just kind of asked her, like, okay, well, she wanted to do like an individual education plan, IEP or something they're called.
Yes.
And so I just said, do you mind holding off and not do that until, I work with him a little more. Like, I was pregnant too, like, one after another. I was always pregnant. Yeah, so I was like, okay, just give me some time. Yeah, get it over with. I'm like, let me, work with him and before you do the IEP. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that didn't happen. So I was very disappointed in that. So from there, I was getting mail sent to my home, but I was like, okay, so we have to take into consideration that I was pregnant. Okay, so maybe a little bit emotional already, but
possibly.
Yeah, so they had sent me this paper, like already like laid out with his individual education plan, and with this pamphlet, a brochure with a child that had disabilities clearly in the pamphlet, and so I was like, what are you saying, about my child? And it was like, I don't think they understood like what that's the statement that it made and how that made me feel. And I was like, and I questioned, like, is there something wrong with my child? Like, went through all these emotions, because I thought, and then the worry that it puts on you when you're, like when it's your first kid, that's in school, and you're like, what's wrong with him? And so right away I actually was like, felt very like discouraged, and I'm like, what do I do, Lord? And I really prayed about it, and I felt like the Lord said, you teach him. Now about me? Me? Are you sure? Okay. So I pulled him out, and I remember like reaching out to so many people, like, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? And it was like, I felt like so confused. It was in the middle of the year, but the Lord helped me to do that. Thank God. So when we, I think the next year he went back to school or whatever, but so for like another year, and then the Lord called us to LA to come run a Mission Adventures program, and so we homeschooled them again. So I was literally at the same spot all over, but with all my kids, and I was all like, what do I do? And everyone's like, oh, do this one program, it's so awesome. They just watch a video, and it's really easy. I'm like, no, it was not really easy. I like cried so many times in the shower because I didn't know like what anybody was doing.
I would hate to see what hard was, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to help them. I didn't know how to do their math or anything, you know. And I'm like, it was like just all new, a big move. We sold our home and just really overwhelmed. And then finally, like the next year, I was like, God, you need to step in and help me with this journey, right? And it was really cool because I really felt like the Lord just showed me like a different way to do it a little bit, and it was like more tailored to how we were as a family and what worked for each of our kids.
There you go.
And so I was like, sweet. And then, you know, we're done there. So we moved. The Lord did this amazing blessing for us. Where we were able to buy a home in San Diego. So we own a home in San Diego. So after a while,
that's where I grew up.
Really?
In San Diego, Mesa.
Oh yeah, Bonita. So that's where we live.
Yeah,
super close. So we bought a home, and I thought, okay, we moved into the house, and I'm like, cool. Where do I enroll them in school, Lord? Right? And he's all like, and I'm like, all right, for real? Wait, what? You know?
Fine.
Yes. And I like cried.
Right?
I did. I cried because I really thought that I was just gonna do it for those 2 years. That first year was hard. The second one, we did it, but it wasn't like, you know, it was never something I was like, I'm gonna be a homeschool mom, you know, like that, right? I thought like, you know, okay, I'm moving forward. Like, what do I want to do with myself? Do I want to go back to school? What do I want to do, right? And like even pursue my business stuff. I don't know.
Right.
And so I was crying and I'm on the floor and I'm like, oh God, like why? Like why do you want me to do this? Why? And it was so cool because the Lord like totally spoke to me again. Of course, I love when he does that, but he was just like the first thing he says was, I know, were you long suffering today?
Oh.
And I'm all like,
ouch.
Yeah, I'm like, kind of, you know.
Well, yeah.
You know. Were you, you know, patient? And I was like, oh. I can feel that. I can feel that a little more. I'm like,
well, I'm working on it.
Yeah, definitely working on it. I'm not patient at all. I was like, not really. Whatever. And then he's like, were you gentle? And I can remember like that point in the day where like they were doing something and I was frustrated. You know, it's like even when you teach your kids to read, you're like, it's like nails down the backboard. Oh my God! Yikes! Yeah, like that says cat. No, you know, it's like so hard. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah. So he's like, and then he says to me, so it gets like more intense, and then the last thing he asks me is, were you loving? And I was like, oh, I remember back to that moment where I was like angry with my kid. I was not loving. I was like probably like demon mama, you know, in that moment. And so I just started bawling, crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like I just see my faults. I'm like, exactly, God, this brings me back to my point. Why do you want me to homeschool these kids? You know,
what was the reason? It's obvious that I can't.
I know I can't do this, and he just said, that's why.
Yeah.
He said because it's not for them, it's for you.
Oh,
Wow.
Bam!
Wow.
Yes.
There it is.
So he just said, you know, like how do you expect to go and minister to all those people when you do the church, when you can't even get it together here in your home? And I was all like, wow, yeah. And so from that moment forward, it just took a totally different outlook. I'm like, okay, God, I'm running. This is my mission.
This is my church.
This is my church.
Right?
This is my missionary field. You know, this is
my
church. My full-time job. I had to see it so different and like say no to so many things and say yes to that.
Yes.
You know, and like investing that in every moment that I have. I check myself. Vanessa, and I feel that irritating me, or I want to go do something else right now.
Do you have a big poster on the wall?
I need to. But like I always remind myself, like, you know, be patient, be gentle, be kind. You know, the fruit of the Spirit, Vanessa, because they're watching.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's scary.
Yeah, that is very scary.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think it was A.W. Tozer that said that he had learned everything that he had learned about being a Christian, he learned from his mother.
Aww.
And when I read that quote, I was like, ooh, wow. Yeah.
That hit hard. It makes you really stop and think.
So important.
Yeah, and he was a scholar. He had gone to like, you know, seminary and all these things, you know, he's like, he literally at the end of his life, he attributed like his Christianity and his walk with Jesus with his mom. So I was like, I want that too.
Yes,
wow.
for your children.
That's beautiful.
Well, I have a loaded question.
All right.
So, You're a co-pastor with your husband. You have 5 kids that you homeschool. You're a wife. And you're a friend. Sister. You got all these titles. And I'm thinking, how do you juggle everything? You know, I mean, you got to have some devotion time, prayer. You know, there's chores, there's all this stuff. So tell me how you incorporate your children and how do you get all these meals prepared and all this other stuff you got to do. So kind of like.
All right. Well, what's the age range of your children?
Yeah, my oldest is 14.
Okay.
And the first 2, so I have 4 boys and a little girl. So my oldest is 14, 13, one that will be 12 in a few days, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. So the first 2 I had 1 year apart, exact same day, June 10th.
Wow.
And they have the same birthday, 1 year apart. So I think my oldest was 3 months old when I got pregnant with my second one. My second was 8 months old when I got pregnant with my third. So it's been like a crazy.
I like it that way though.
Yes.
It's nice.
Yeah. I think now I appreciate it more.
Mine were close too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But how do I juggle it all? It's funny because I have those moments where I feel like I don't. Or I feel like everything's just a hot mess, right? But to be completely honest, and I'm not giving you like some generic answer, that this is truly like if I do not have my quiet time in the morning,
right,
I don't juggle nothing. And literally, I drop it all.
You feel you're juggled.
Yes, exactly.
So
I feel like that is the most important thing in my day. My kids know that's the most important thing and beginning to their day. That's how we do it. Because like God comes first, the first fruits always, So I spend I wake up early too, and I spend a lot of time in my devotions, like whether worshiping or journaling or whatever it might be.
Awesome.
And my kids too have seen that in both my husband and my life, and they actually do the same. They wake up in the morning and they read their Bible.
Set an example.
So cool.
Yeah.
So God is the priority, and it literally what I do is it's not like a set time. So, but I feel like it's never enough. So even if an hour or 2 hours have gone by, seriously, that like I sometimes feel like, I just need more God, or
yes,
have those,
fill me up,
more. They have those days too where you're just like, and the Lord has been so good. So I just feel like I'm not leaving here, God, until I feel something from you, until I get something for this day where I feel like a release, or else I won't leave my bedroom. My kids know too; they're really good. Like, because they'll come in sometimes, and my daughter will do her devotion with me. But for the most part, they know that that's my time with the Lord. Yeah,
awesome.
But I do wake up early, like I said, to do that. If not, So that's my number one.
Good.
That I'd say how I juggle everything. It's amazing too when you do that and you have a list of things to do. Like last week was a really crazy week for me, and I'm like, I don't know how to do all these things. And then I volunteered myself for all these other extra things. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, right? I don't know. I don't know. And but like it got done, like all of it. And then I even had time to like relax. And I was like, wow.
Praying that He orders your steps. The days I do that, I make sure I commit myself in the morning to Him, and I may have a whole list of stuff to do, and I always say, if you have something different for me, if you need me to do something else, I'm ready. But here's my list for the day, and I need you to order my steps.
Yes, that's so awesome because you submit it before the Lord.
Right.
Right? That is so cool.
And then you'd be surprised, because before that happened, I would get so agitated that my list wasn't getting done. I didn't realize at the time, I just was really worked. But, once you realize that it's the Lord doing this, He needs you to call this person or go help this person. Yes. It's the Lord doing that.
Right.
So we have to always come back to that and go, oh, thank you, Jesus. It's
right. Like, what's our assignment for the day, right? Like,
It has nothing to do what I have to do.
Exactly.
It's everything about what you need me to do.
Right.
So I'm sure with your homeschooling, you've got that pretty organized then.
Yes, I wanted to share a verse with everyone because it's like something that God had like given me early on when I started homeschooling. And he said, like the best person to teach your children is the parent. I was just gonna say that. Like that's something that I want to encourage all the mamas and dads out there that are in this season right now that are homeschooling and they're kind of like, I'm not cut out for this. Yes, you are. If God called you, because you think about it, if God chose you to be their parent, you are more than sufficient, more than enough to do it because He's going to give you the strength to do that. And in Deuteronomy 6, it says, and you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. So this is when Moses was giving the 10 Commandments, right? So he's talking to the Israelites, and he says, repeat them again and again, and I'm going to emphasize and say again, to your children. Yes. He's talking to you, parent, to me, right? All his parents out there. So it says, talk about them when you are at home and when you are on the road, when you are going to bed and when you are getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. So I feel like it's so important that as parents, you know, like the world is trying to steal our children. Yes. Literally. Like, it's like if you don't teach them, somebody else is going to. If you don't have that uncomfortable sex talk with your children, like somebody else is going to, and they're going to make it like warped and disgusting and this warped view of what God made something beautiful to be and make it look ugly. You know, so you have this incredible opportunity as a parent to come in and really like transform the way that your children think, the way that your children believe, the way that your children, even if they do have to go back to school at some point, that how they handle situations when they come up, to have those difficult conversations at home first. So those are like really big things that I feel like the Lord is teaching me. Even like, you know, it's hard. It's hard having the conversations of like the things that are actually taking place right now in our society that they're saying is normal, right? But it's not. I tell them that all the time. Like, you know, the devil says in the last days that, you know, wrong is going to be right. People are going to say like this, I'm right and we're wrong, and wrong is going to be right and right is going to be wrong. Right? So there's going to be more persecution against us Christians, but if you don't know the Word of God and you don't hide it in your heart, if your kids don't know it, like that's why it says, repeat it again and again. So I'm going to say it again. Repeat them again and again to your children. So that's a command from God. Like Moses is telling God, he got that from the Lord. He's telling them, like, you know, teach your children. Talk about these things when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, when you're sleeping, when you're rising, all the time. Let your lifestyle be that for your children. And always, like, we always have, you know, worship music in our home playing. Yes, me too. And we have a scripture of the week that we learn or whatever. And that's just one thing. I always tell them, like, there's going to be an age when we're not going to be able to have a Bible. They might become illegal, you know? Or, like, who knows, right? Like, we don't know. But if we don't have the Word of God and we don't know it for ourselves, then we're going to be deceived in those last days because we're not going to know the truth from a lie. So that's just one thing that I really feel like the Lord is like hammering into me more and more and more, like, and doing that from like a weird place, like a religious place, but from like a place of like relationship and love that you have with the Lord.
Exactly.
Right? Like they see me mess up. I have to go to my kids all the time, like crying. I'm like, please forgive me. Oh my gosh, I totally I'm not cool right now at all. And they're like, I love it. It's so beautiful to see how quick they forgive. I forgive you, mommy. It's okay. You know, and I'm like, I want our relationship to continue that way into their adulthood. Right. Yes. You know, and them to know, like, I am like so far from perfect. I need like so many times they teach me things where I like I'm crying. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like
that's amazing. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
A lot of people thinking right now, I can see you out there. You're going, oh, maybe I could do it. And yes,
you can do it.
Yes, I'm excited because, you know, my son and his wife talk about doing the homeschooling too. My oldest grandson is 6. So awesome. 6, 4, 2. So, you know, it's amazing. Yeah. I'm excited for them. And so, what would be your biggest advice for new homeschoolers in light of current circumstances?
Okay, this is a big one for me. This is like, especially there's so many people that have
a little bit challenging right now.
This is like, I think, our 7th year homeschooling. Okay. So, and, you know, I've literally homeschooled now preschool all the way to my oldest is in high school, 9th grade this year.
Okay. Good.
But, I would say, number one thing, if there's one thing that you get out of what I say about homeschooling today, take this to heart. Have fun.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like it.
Make learning fun.
Go to the beach.
Yes.
You can make that a science project.
Exactly. Absolutely. See,
life.
The thing with kids is that they're always learning.
Right.
But the thing with people, if you're open to it, we're always learning too, right? Because we don't all know everything, right? And so when kids go to a public school, they're learning from a textbook that, you know, they're telling you what you have to learn. As a homeschool parent, you get to decide that. What do you want to learn about? We do that all the time. We go take a beach day, and we're like, okay, we learn, and we'll pick a specific animal or whatever. And depending on their grade, I tailor what they're doing to, their grade level. But it's, have fun and don't stress out about it because they keep recycling with you're a teacher, right? So so you know this. Like you recycle what you learn, you cycle through it. So you learn something in kindergarten and then you relearn it again at a deeper level, first grade, second grade.
Exactly.
Progression. So same thing with like history, world history, American history. You learn a little bits of it at a time and then you add on to the extent of what you're learning, as you grow. So like I said, you're not going to learn everything. You can't cram for that test and like ace that test. I did that in high school and I was like an honor student, but like literally after I took the test, there was like a chalkboard. It was gone. I was like,
it was all erased.
Like, I don't know.
When you attach the whatever, you get to hold it, see it, feel it.
Yes.
It gets in your brain
Right.
much better,
Right.
and you remember the information better.
Then memorize. Yes.
So it's awesome to be like
out
there.
hands-on, and like it's so crazy all the things that I have learned and like the information that is stuck, and it's so it's embarrassing because I was like, I was in honors, history, and I'm like, someone asked me about history one day, I'm like, I have no idea, like, I don't know, like, you just forget, but now I'm like, this plethora of information that's so cool, even to teach your kids, it's his story, God's story and how it started from the beginning, and as a homeschool parent, you get to integrate as much of the Lord in that as you want, which is so cool. You get to see, you learn about, history in the Roman and Greek time of what, what happened and like how Jesus was during that time too. Like it's amazing the things you can teach your kids when you're, when you're homeschooling. So.
Well, before we run out of time, there's a couple practical things. I know that Shirley has some things to say, but one of the things I wanted to say on the practical side is I think what is one of the most important things, not only to have fun doing homeschooling and make it a learning experience for yourself and your children, but it's real important in this time of history right now that we have what is called self-care. And I think what is very practical about that, you get refreshed. Whether it's taking the day off from homeschool and doing a field trip somewhere that is refreshing and setting things aside, whether it's spending that one more hour doing devotion. It's real important for the teacher, the mother, the father, that they do this practical thing, and that is the self-care. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up real quickly was Vanessa's just started making essential oils. And
the blends.
The blends. And I got one the other day, and I deal with inflammation and pain. So I got one that said pain, and she had different blends in there. And so I put it on and I massaged it in, and I know the Lord touched it too, but the pain subsided. So I wanted you we don't have too much time, but I wanted you to just share a little bit about your essential oils and how
sure. I'll just really quick, how you can incorporate that into maybe like a routine for you to like relax. So like lavender essential oil is a great oil to use to diffuse, in your diffuser, or like before your kids are going to bed. I have one little monkey that is a monkey. Literally like just everywhere. So that lavender oil is like my best friend.
Right.
So that just goes with hand in hand with the self-care. Like you just take care of yourself. Sometimes just taking that moment in a room while you're praying and set your diffuser off and
cup of coffee,
so that's what we try to do. We try to do things as natural and holistic as possible, and just use things that, for, ourselves that are good for our bodies. So that's why we love the essential oils.
That is so important. Awesome. Well, Vanessa, I am so thrilled that you got to be here and be an encouragement.
Thank you
for the homeschoolers.
Thank you so much.
And I'm always learning something from you. And I think Shirley, you had a couple things you wanted to announce real quick.
Yes. Now you may remember we're going to make a manger at the very beginning of December.
Cool.
And so your job is to find a nativity scene that you love. And mine's about between 5.5 to 6 inches high for my nativity scene. So get some animals in there too, because you know we all have to praise the Lord, right?
Yeah.
So you need the bigger sticks to do the main part of the manger, and then get lots of little sticks. We're going to be gluing it all together and making it together the first Sunday, or maybe the second Sunday. I can't remember which one it is, but we'll let you know. Glue gun. You need a piece of cardboard, sturdy, and some lights. Some little lights to go up in the ceiling part to shine down on the manger.
Fun.
I know. So
That's awesome.
so you're going to have a manger party. I mean, make a manger party, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do
So
that.
invite your friends, family, the kids, and we can all do it together. My son, he was about 10 years old when he and I collected all the sticks in the yard, and God gave me the vision, and we've made a manger. So it's not a pattern. It's just my creative part.
It's all
Yeah.
natural.
That's
Yes.
great. I love that.
I'm excited. And then we have our next guest speaker is Irene. She's going to share about what her and her husband have been doing for 43 years with a ministry
how wonderful.
that goes around the world to share the gospel of
awesome.
Jesus in 6,700 languages so far.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So
Amazing.
yes, so we have to.
I love it.
Yes, and
Very
she's
cool.
going to share with you about Joy, who's the one that had one idea in her head caused all this to happen. How many people have been touched around the world. So we hope you can join us next week on Sundays at 2 o'clock. Invite your friends and family, and we are excited to share this with you. And thank you so much for
Thank you for
coming.
having me.
Yes,
Thank you.
Vanessa,
Yes.
Thank you guys for listening.
God bless you. We hope you have a beautiful
Yes.
day.